You talked about the kitchen table kind of issue as this was unfolding, that families had these conversations around the kitchen table. How did the media shape perceptions on the war then, and how is war reporting different today, or is it the same?
Well, the war reporting in Vietnam was the first time the American people who weren't at the battle, not in the battlefield, could actually see a conflict almost in real time. But it was the first time that the horror of war started to reflect itself in the American media. And something really dramatic happened around 1968. Walter Cronkite was the kind of the news voice of America for CBS. The US only had 3 networks, ABC, CBS, and NBC. So there was a very limited sort of place that you were getting your media. In 1968, Walter Cronkite said, after the Tet Offensive, where the US Embassy in Saigon was seized by Vietnamese guerrillas, he looked into the camera and he said, "There is no light at the end of this tunnel." That was a big one, because Walter Cronkite had this kind of grandfatherly sage status as like the #1 American newsman. And he's telling the American people who the next year, like in these kitchen table discussions, we're having to decide, does my son go or do we say no? And he's telling the American people there's no light at the end of this tunnel, meaning if you send your kid, it's not for something, there's no end sight. There's no light at the end of the tunnel. It's for nothing. And so that was a big eye-opener for the American people. And then in 1969, and I can give you a direct example of how the American media shaped American public opinion. In 1969, there were 2 demonstrations. They were the biggest protests in American history up until that day. They were called the Moratorium. One was in October 1969, and the other was November. In both months, 500,000 people came to Washington, D.C. I was organizing buses as a 16-year-old in my church in Rochester, New York, and we had 3 buses ready to go the Monday before the Saturday protest. And then that night, the network TV started saying, well, there's this demonstration happening in Washington, D.C., and it's going to be really good, and so many people are coming to it. It was like suddenly we got sympathetic media coverage, and from Monday, we had 3 buses. By Thursday, we had 20 buses. This is from a small town in Rochester, New York. So the media, I think decisions by media policymakers to sort of tell the other side of the Vietnam War changed American public opinion. So there was a difference of opinion that was aired on nightly TV. That you don't see too much now. Or if you see it, it's based on, like, I watch MSNBC, you watch Fox News. But at that time, everyone watched either CBS, ABC, or NBC. So the media had a very profound impact.